5FC. Skynet?
I don't know.
Does Charlie know?
Always 9 p.m. Saturday on 146.88. Duh.
Sharon, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the close sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without directions from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. The Skynet net operates on 146.88 megahertz with VLSI 110.9. Check-ins via Evolink are also possible using the 35FD-R90 or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to www.35fd.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. It's 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, what you can see in the sky tonight, a featured constellation or object, our topic, recent astronomical discoveries, space exploration and space history, and visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, and if there's time, astronomical Q&A, and 73 rounds. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let's start with low power and short time check-ins. Your call sign, your name, and your QTH. Please come now. All right, let's take demo check-in.
This is November 5 Alpha Bravo Alpha, Andre in Dallas.
This is November 5 Bravo Bravo, Bill in Irving, and I have no NSS items this week. Tango 5. Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas. 5 Papa. Mike Richardson. Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima Bill Farmers Ranch.
Charlie 5 Oscar Zulu Tango, Carolyn and Louisville. Okay, let's stop there. Inside ABA Andre, inside BB Bill, NC5 TM Tony, KG5 Pete Mike, KF5 ZBL Bill, KC5 OZT Carolyn. Alright, next round please. General check-in.
Whiskey 5 Echo Bravo Bravo, David and Dallas. Alpha Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel, Robert and Richardson. This is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville. Okay, we have W5EBD David, KK5AH Robert, K5ITX Tom. Do we have an Echo Link check-in? Please come out.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J near Weatherford.
Blue Charlie Tango, David in Frisco.
Okay, we've got KG5 ECWJ and KG5, hold on, KG5 Z Charlie Tango, David, Frisco. Do we have any other people from any mode? Please come out. Alright, this is a small bunch, but around the holidays that happens a lot. I guess people are out Christmas shopping. Okay, do we have any general announcements for this evening's event? We have astronomical space of general interest to licensed hymns. Please come down.
Tango 5, Tango Mike.
5 yes, go ahead.
I'd like to remind everyone that this is not the last night of the night or this evening, or this weekend, excuse me. We have the after-movie discussion coming up at 10:30 p.m. We'll be talking about the 1958 movie, Missile to the Moon. And tomorrow night is a third Sunday, December 16th, And so there will be a Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air on this repeater at 7 p.m. Checking something here.
Sorry, I think we doubled. What was your last comment?
Well, I was just double checking before I made my next announcement to remind everyone that we have an unusual case tomorrow night. We can go as long as we want with the meeting on the air because there is no Races training net tomorrow night. There is no Races training net on Sunday, December 16th. There is no net for Races training tomorrow night. So enjoy the afternoon movie discussion tonight. Enjoy your extra free time tomorrow with no Races training net. And heck, enjoy Ham Fixin's net this coming Monday. This is NT5TM.
Okay, thank you, Tony. All right, the NSET Amateur Radio Satellite Group has two nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central. You'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the nets under Groups and NSET. Also, a live audio link is available on the website, which is amsetnet.com. There in Houston. Then the Dallas Amset net and the Dallas Fort Worth is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, CL 110.9 megahertz positive offset. Okay, tonight's afterglow information. I'd like to call on Tom, K5ICX, to tell us about the fine movie that has been selected for us. Go ahead, Tom.
Hi, this is KE5ICX. Tonight's afterglow movie is Missile to the Moon from 1958. Sometimes it's in black and white, sometimes it's in color. You paid $3, you got to sit down and see everybody's blue and purple skin, whatever that means, or you saw it in black and white, which means you didn't see any of that. So there it goes. The siren wailed into the night. Gary and Lon were escaped convicts. The law was after them, and their capture wouldn't go down well for them. Gary, what's that over there? Lon, it looks like a getaway spaceship. What's a getaway spaceship? It's our ticket off this planet. I'll bet the coppers don't have a black and white spaceship like that. Oh, I don't think so, Lon. They headed to the getaway spaceship, confident of what would happen. Join us for the next Afterglow movie, Missile to the Moon, from 1958 at 10:30. Even if you didn't see it, that's okay. There's plenty of stuff to spread around. So come on by at 10:30. That's it for me, KE5ICX.
Okay, thank you, Tom. This is WB50ZL. Do we have any new check-in?
November 2, Victor India Papa. November 2, Victor India Papa. Ken, Las Colinas, Mobile.
Thanks for joining the net. Okay, does anybody have a report on the Astronomical Society of Dallas? Where we need to look through a telescope. Does anybody have anything for us?
very good. I can do that. Don't forget you have your discussion topic actually comes first, but I'll be happy to give that, and I'll give you some time to go ahead and get ready there. What you can see in the sky this evening, this comes from earthsky.org/tonight. Tonight. So if you go to w5sc.org website, you'll also find the same information there as well as the link. So the first thing we're going to do is look at east 1 hour before sunrise. It says now mid-December 2018. It's time to get outside in the early morning and try to spot our sun's innermost planet, Mercury. Look east, the sunrise direction. You can't miss super bright Venus, Mercury. Super bright Venus. Mercury is below it near the sunrise point. If you look extra hard with the unaided eye or binoculars, you might spot the bright Jupiter near the horizon, too, on the line with Venus and Mercury. Mercury shines more brightly than a first-magnitude star now. In other words, it's as bright as the brightest stars in our sky, but not nearly as brilliant as Venus. Bring along your binoculars if you have them. With daylight coming up fast, you could easily lose Mercury in the morning twilight. You need an unobstructed horizon in the direction of sunrise, depending on where you live worldwide. Mercury might or might not be above the horizon some 90 minutes before sunrise. If you don't see it at first below dazzling Venus, wait a bit. As Earth spins under the sky as dawn's light is filling the sky, Mercury will be ascending higher in the east. Jupiter is climbing upward now, too, day by day, toward Mercury in the December 2018 morning sky. In mid-December, the mid-morning twilight might render Jupiter invisible or nearly so. Fortunately, Jupiter should become easier to see by the time this brilliant world pairs up with Mercury on December 21st. Now there's another drawing up there. This one says east, December 21st, 1 hour before sunrise. And it shows Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter with Mercury and Jupiter very close to the horizon. It says this morning, apparition of Mercury favors the northern hemisphere. The farther north you live, the more time that Mercury rises above sunrise. The farther south you live, the closer Mercury rises to sunrise. Assuming a level eastern horizon, we give the approximate amount of time that Mercury rises before the sun at 45 degrees latitude in the equator, and there Mercury rises about 100 minutes before sunrise. That's at the 45 degrees north latitude. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Sure, I put this picture up. This is for December 13th, 14th, and 15th. This is for south dusk at nightfall. It doesn't even describe it. I'm not quite sure why, but it shows Mars and its location in the sky in relationship to the ecliptic, just above the moon on December 14th, which is... Oh, that was yesterday. So it's actually going to be a little bit north and west of the moon tonight. So if you go out there, you should see it. Not quite sure. They didn't mention it in the description here. Oh, well. So it says here, mid-December 2018, look for Mercury and possibly Jupiter below Venus in the east at dawn. The next thing I got is from the U.S. Observatory. I have a feeling this is going to be their... Oh, they do. No, they got new stuff in here. Let's see. It says the moon waxes in the evening sky this week, climbing through the sparse star fields of the autumnal constellations as she wends her way northward along the ecliptic. By the end of the week, she lies just west of the rising stars of the Great Winter Circle. First quarter occurs on the 15th at 6:49 Eastern Standard Time. Look for the moon just below Ruddy Mars on the evening of the 14th. Yay! Hey, it's explained here in a different a different website. Okay, the annual Gemini meteor shower peaks during the overnight hours of the 13th and 14th. This shower is one of the most consistent displays, but it doesn't get the same notoriety as the August Perseids. This is probably due to the observing conditions for most of us. In August, you can lay on a blanket and shorts and a t-shirt and enjoy the show. In mid-December, it's hard to remain still while staring at the sky without getting very cold very quickly. However, one of the great advantages of the Geminids is the shower's radiant point in the sky. Near the bright star Castor in Gemini, it's quite high in the east by 10 p.m. for Northern Hemisphere observers. From dark locations, it's possible to see up to 100 meteors per hour during the storm's peak times. On the 13th, the moon sets shortly after 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, so scattered moonlight shouldn't be a factor. Gemini meteors are fairly slow-moving compared to the zippy Perseids, and the brighter members can be quite colorful. The parent body of the Geminids is very unusual asteroid 3200 Phantom, the first asteroid to be discovered by a spacecraft. Its orbit resembles that of a comet, but doesn't show a cometary composition. Instead, each time it passes close to the sun, dust from its surface sputters off and gets distributed along its orbital path. In these dust grains that create the meteors that grace our skies each year. In addition to the Geminids, this week presents us with another ephemeral event. On the evening of the 16th, a member of Jupiter's comet family will pass within 11.5 million kilometers, or 17.2 million miles of the Earth, and will be well placed for observation in the evening sky. Comet 46P, or Wirtanen, orbits the Sun with a period of 5.44 years and is one of many comets whose orbit is shaped by the gravity of the solar system's largest planet. It was discovered in January of 1948 by American astronomer Carl at Lick Observatory in California. This year's unusual close approach won't happen again for at least 20 years. Currently, the comet is moving northeastward through the stars, the constellation Taurus the Bull. It is glowing at 5th magnitude and should brighten a bit more over the next several nights. On the evenings of the 15th and 16th, it will be located about 5 degrees southeast and east, respectively, from the Pleiades star cluster, and it should be a fairly easy binocular target, appearing as a fuzzy, glowing ball with a faint greenish tint. If the current brightness trend continues, it may reach a 3rd magnitude and thus would be an easy naked-eye target from dark sky sights. It will cross the meridian around 10 p.m., at which time the first quarter moon should be low in the southwest. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, it will move into the constellations of Auriga and the Charitir, passing the bright yellow-hued star Capella just before Christmas. Bloody Mars is now the sole bright planet to grace the evening sky. You'll find him on the meridian as evening twilight deepens. Glowing a 0 magnitude, he's now some 10 times fainter than he was in the opposition back in late July. His distinctive tint and position in the space field of bright stars means that you shouldn't have any trouble finding him. Viewed through a telescope, his now shrunken disk may display a few tenuous surface features, but will also have a distinctive gibbous phase. Bright Venus beams down on the southeast pre-dawn sky. You should be able to view her until sunrise. Right now, she is easy to spot as I take the dog out for his morning constitutional, in quotes. Even without my glasses on, she's currently shining as a blazing negative 4.8 magnitude, and if you know where to look for her, she should be visible even after the sun comes up. The elusive planet Mercury reaches greatest elongation west of the sun on the 15th. At this time, he will be just over 20 degrees from the sun and should be visible to the southeast, 10 degrees above the horizon, 45 minutes before sunrise. And that's it for me, Miss Brenda. I'll send the net back to you. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom, and I apologize for getting that messed up. I got over it. Didn't notice it. So, tonight, our topic is NASA just learned it can navigate space using pulsars. Where to now? Now, this article's not really recent. It's earlier in the year, so it may seem odd when they talk about recent events and such. Half a century ago, astronomers observed their first pulsar, a dead, distant, ludicrously dense star that emitted pulses of radiation with a remarkable regularity. So consistent was the object's signal that astronomers jokingly nicknamed it LGM-1, short for Little Green Men. It wasn't long before scientists detected more signals like LGM-1 that decreased the odds of these pulses of radiation were the work of intelligent extraterrestrials. The identification of other pulsars presented another possibility. Perhaps objects like LGM-1 could be used to navigate future missions to deep space. With the right sensors and navigational algorithms, the thinking went, a spacecraft could autonomously determine its position in space by timing the reception of signals from multiple pulsars. The concept was so beguiling that when designing the Gold Plaque support Pioneer spacecraft, Carl Sagan and Frank Drake chose to map the location of our solar system relative to 14 pulsars. Even then, people needed that pulsars could act like beacons to keep Dendro, an astrophysicist at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. But for decades, pulsar navigation remained a tantalizing theory, a means of deep space navigation relegated to space opera novellas and episodes of Star Trek. Then last week, Dendro and a team of NASA researchers announced that they had finally proven that pulsars can function like a cosmic positioning system. Dendro and his team performed the demonstration quietly last November when the neutron star interior composition explorer, a pulsar measuring instrument the size of a washing machine, currently aboard the International Space Station, spent a weekend observing the electromagnetic emissions of 5 pulsars with the help of an enhancement known as the Station Explorer for X-ray Timing and Navigation Technology, aka Sextant. NASA was able to determine the station's position in Earth's orbit within roughly 3 miles, while it was traveling in excess of 17,000 miles per hour. The pulsar navigation's greatest benefits will be felt not in low Earth orbit. There are better, more precise ways to track spacecraft as local as the ISS, but farther out in space, period. Today's deep space missions navigate using a global system of radio antennas called the Deep Space Network. The DSN really does good range information, says Dendro, who served as principal investigator on the NICER mission. If you know the speed of light and you have highly accurate clocks, you can ping these spacecraft any further distance with very high precision. But the DSN has some major limitations. The farther away a spacecraft gets, the less reliable the DSN's location measurements become. The network can detect distance just fine, but struggles to determine the spacecraft's lateral position. Far-flung missions also take longer to deliver waves to ground-based satellites and more time to receive instructions from mission planners here on Earth, reducing the speed at which they can react and operate by minutes, hours, days. What's more, the network is quickly becoming oversaturated, like an overburdened Wi-Fi network, where spacecraft that chart a course for deep space, so as bandwidth, DSN will have to split between them. equipped to scan the depths of space, but Pulsar beacons can calculate its absolute position in space without communicating with Earth. That would free up transmission capacity on the DSN and buy valuable time for executing maneuvers in deep space. It all goes back to the A word, autonomy, says NASA's Jason Mitchell, an aerospace technologist at Goddard and project manager for the Sextus project. When spacecraft can determine its location in space independently of infrastructure on Earth, it lets mission planners think about navigation in places they wouldn't otherwise be able to navigate, he says. Pulsar navigation to allow spacecraft to perform maneuvers behind the sun, for example. Signals to and from the DSN cannot cut through our parent star. In the more distant future, missions at the fringes of our solar system and beyond, in the Oort cloud, for example, could perform maneuvers in real time based on self-determined coordinates without having to wait on instructions from Earth. The pulsars aren't the only way to find one's way into the distant solar system. Joseph Quinn, a deep space navigation expert at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, who is unaffiliated with the NICER project, is developing an autonomous system that could use cameras to detect objects using their positions to determine the spacecraft coordinates. He calls it a Deep Space Positioning System, DPS for short, and it works by detecting reflections from space rocks in the asteroid cloud orbiting between Mars and Jupiter. Those reflections mimic the function of the Global Positioning System, the network of satellites orbiting Earth at a height of 12,540 miles. Its killer feature is that it can tell a spacecraft where it is relative to an object of interest. Pulsar navigation, by contrast, cannot only tell a spacecraft its absolute position in space. With this way, Pulsar navigation can tell you where you're at inside your office building, or GPS can tell you that your boss is standing right behind you. Relative measurements notwithstanding, GPS has its drawbacks. Just like GPS becomes less reliable once you're above it. If you get sufficiently far out in the solar system and you can't see anything because the light is so diminished, then you might find yourself in a position where pulsar navigation is the only game in town, Quinn says. After all, pulsars all exist far, far outside our solar system. You don't have to worry about getting up above those. The ideal solution would be to put spacecraft to execute multiple forms of navigation. Transmitters and receivers for communicating with a deep space network here on Earth, a deep space positioning system, and a high-precision sensor like NICER for detecting and timing the arrival of pulsar missions in deep space. If the DSN is overwhelmed or the spacecraft needs to navigate autonomously in real time, the DPS can take over. GDARC for DPS, Pulsar Nav, can grab the baton. When one system fails or is pushed beyond its limits, another can relieve it of its duties. There's a big need for this redundancy in critical systems like navigation. The nice thing about pulsar navigation is it functions very independently of all other methods of navigation, which can be hugely valuable, Sandro says. That's probably why, according to him, mission planners have expressed interest in including pulsar navigation aboard NASA's Orion spacecraft, which would be designed to carry humans deeper into space than any vehicle in history. Glenn says that a plan to make Orion capable of deep space positioning is also in the works, and that SpaceX too is very interested in. The challenge when it comes to redundancy will be finding space for all its equipment. On space missions, every ounce
Kilo Charlie 5, presents the best of you. KF5, JHA, Chaz, mobile.
At first station, I didn't get any of your transmission. Well, it was totally garbled. Would you please come again?
Kilo Charlie 5, hotel, presents of you.
KC5HQW, I think. And a name, please?
Kilo Charlie 5, hotel, Quebec, India. Name Bob, Bravo, Oscar, Bravo.
Okay, I think we got KC5HQ India, and name is Bob. KF5JH8 Chad. Oh. All right, let's move on. Bear with me while I find my place. And, let's see. Okay, we're going to move on to, KC5OZT, Carolyn. It's going to tell us about the Constellation. Please go ahead, Carolyn. Okay, this is KC5OZT, and tonight our constellation is Eridanus. It's named for the ancient Greek river, Po, P-O, in Italy, but it's usually shown as a river flowing from the waters poured by Aquarius. It's the sixth largest constellation. And it's easy to find. It's just south of Taurus that we talked about last week. In Greek mythology, it was associated with the story of Phaeton, the son of the sun god Helios. He wanted to drive his father's chariot across the sky, and finally the god agreed and told him to follow the beaten track where he saw wheel marks. Phaeton mounted the chariot and the horses, sensing the driver was different, flew upwards into the sky, leaving the familiar track. The inexperienced driver couldn't control the horses, the reins slipped from his hands, and the chariot plunged so close to the earth that lands caught fire. It said this is how Libya became a desert and the seas dried up. This saw what was going on and had to intervene, so he struck Phaeton down as a thunderbolt. And when Phaeton's hair caught on fire, he jumped from the chariot and fell into the Eridanus. His father was stricken with grief. He didn't drive his chariot for days, leaving the world in darkness. Eridanus has some interesting stars. First one is Achernar, A-C-H-E-R-N-A-R. Now it is pretty far south. I don't think we can see it from Dallas, but it's class B, magnitude 0.4. It's the brightest star in the constellation, and in fact, the brightest star in the night sky. And its name means the end of the river, and it is the end of the constellation there. And it is the hottest, bluest star among the 10 brightest stars in the sky. And yet it never rises above the horizon north of 33 degrees north, which is the boundary between Dallas and Denton County. It has a Class A star twice as massive as the Sun. It's a companion in close orbit. They orbit each other every 14 to 15 years. It rotates so fast, it's what's called an oblate spheroid, and it is the least spherical star studied in the Milky Way. And the next star is Epsilon Eridanus. And it is the ninth closest star, and the third closest individual star system that can be seen without binoculars. In fact, it used to be the closest star with a confirmed planet in its orbit until Alpha Centauri b was discovered in the Alpha Centauri system. At magnitude 3.7, it's hard to observe without binoculars from urban areas because of light pollution. But as one of the nearest stars similar to the Sun, it has been the target of several SETI searches, SETI searches, and it often appears in works of science fiction. And in 2000, a giant planet Epsilon Eridanus b was announced, and it orbits the star with a period of 7 years. And a very interesting star. It's 40 Eridanus, or sometimes known as Omicron 2, but it goes by the name of, I guess, Cade or Keid, K-E-I-D. It's a triple star. The primary component is a main sequence dwarf at magnitude 4.4. It can be seen without binoculars. And then the pair of 40B and 40C are a white Class D and a red Class M dwarf at magnitudes 9.5 and 11.7. And this showed up in science fiction. The 11th magnitude red dwarf, 40 Eridanus C, is also a Polaris star. But of note to Star Trek fans, the Vulcan homeworld, Vulcan, was mentioned in the original series, and the city on the edge of forever is orbiting the star Alnitak in Orion. But later in the scripted adaptation anthology Star Trek II, the author James Blish placed the planet in the orbit of 40 Eridanus A. And Gene Roddenberry accepted this. And Eridanus is home to some nice deep sky objects. The first one is called the Witch Head Nebula. And if you see the picture, you can see where it got its name. It's a faint reflection nebula at magnitude 13. It's thought to be a remnant of an ancient supernova, or maybe a gas cloud illuminated with the bright star Rigel in neighboring Orion. It glows mainly by the light reflected from Rigel, located just outside the top right corner of the picture. Fine dust in the nebula reflects this light, and the blue color is caused only by Rigel's blue color, That because the dust grains reflect blue light better than red light. The Pulsar Nebula was mentioned in the TV show Andromeda as the site of the last major battle between the Commonwealth and the Nietzschean Alliance, if you saw that show. And then, there's a group of galaxies, the Eridanus group, or it's also known as the Eridanus cloud, is a group of galaxies about 75 million light years away. This group has about 200 galaxies, and about 70% of them are spiral and irregular galaxies. The brightest galaxy is NGC 1407, and it's divided into some subgroups, but it's a lot of galaxies in small space. And some of the members of this cluster. One we look at is NGC 1300, large spiral galaxy, magnitude 11.4, and a member of that cluster. And in the core of this larger spiral structure, the nucleus shows its own distinct grand design spiral structure. Only the galaxies that have large-scale bars appear to have these grand designed inner discs, a spiral within a spiral. Models suggest that the gas in a bar can be funneled inward and then spiral into the center through the big disc where it can fuel a central black hole. Another of the galaxies in these, it's Pirates, NGC 1332, a spot at magnitude 10, and 1395, a bright large elliptical galaxy at magnitude 9.8. The 1232 is, like I said, a spiral galaxy. And the nearby galaxy, NGC 1232A, is a satellite galaxy of the main one. And I think that is what caused the unusual shape of the larger galaxy spiral arms. And moving on to the next one, 1531 is a dwarf galaxy, magnitude 12.9, and it's interacting with a neighbor, larger, NGC 1532, at magnitude 10. It's a large spiral seen edge on, and it has several dwarf companion galaxies, and it's clearly interacting with the first one, 1531. There's a lot going on in this group. And then another spiral galaxy is NGC 1309, magnitude 12, face on. And worth watching because a type 1A supernova observed in this galaxy is in September 2002. And then we have NGC 1291, and sometimes it's also referred to as 1269. But it's a ring galaxy, magnitude 9.4, and is notable for the unusual structure of its outer ring and inner bar. But you'll have to look at the picture for that because it's too far south to see from Dallas.
NGC 1187 is another spiral galaxy, magnitude 11, seen almost face on. But again, worth watching. It was the site of 2 observed supernova explosions in the last few decades. One in October of 1982, and the other as recent as 2007. So, Eridanus isn't as well known, but it has a lot of fascinating objects that you can see, especially if you happen to go down south. But take a look at what part of it you can see, and I think you'll be very pleased. So unless there's any questions, Brenda, I'll turn it back to you. KC50ZP.
Thank you for that, Carolyn. Do we have any additional check-ins? much more someday soon, distant analogs of Earth. To help answer these and other intriguing questions, a team of UNLV and international astronomers has conducted the first large-sample, high-resolution survey of protoplanetary disks, the belts of dust and gas around young stars. Using the powerful Atacama large millimeter submillimeter array ALMA telescope, researchers have yielded stunning high-resolution images of 20 nearby protoplanetary disks and given astronomers new insights into the variety of features they contain and the speed with which planets can emerge. Results of this survey will appear in a special focus issue of the Astrophysical Journal Letters. Other findings, UNLV first-year graduate student Sanjia Zhang and astrophysicist Professor Zohan Zhu led a study that used these ALMA features discovered that in other parts of our Milky Way there is potentially a large population of young planets similar mass to Neptune or Jupiter at wide orbits that are not detectable by other current planet-searching techniques. This implies that many extrasolar systems may be similar to our solar system in the sense that they also have Uranus and Neptune at the outer disk, Zhu said. In other words, our solar system could just be a regular planetary system in our Milky Way. The UNLV researchers additionally collaborated with the International Astronomy team on all 9 other publications in a special 8-focus issue. Understanding how Earth was formed 4 billion years ago in our solar system is difficult because our solar system finished the planet formation process this long ago. On the other hand, we can observe young stars in other parts of the Milky Way where young stars and young planets are currently being assembled. Since these young stars are far away from us, we need powerful telescopes like ALMA to study these systems. Understanding planet formation is related to understanding our origins, Sue said. When stars are young, they're surrounded by a flat disk made of gas and dust. These disks, called protoplanetary disks, are where young planets are born. Planets in our solar system are coplanar, lying in a common plane around our sun. Zhu compares finding young planets in disk to finding a pebble in a water pond. It's very challenging, he said. When we drop the pebble into the pond, it will lead to ripples in the pond, which are more visible. Similarly, when young planets are present in its water pond, the protoplanetary disk, it will excite waves too. If the planet is massive enough, these waves become a tsunami and cause damages to the disk, forming a gap along the planet's orbit in the disk. ALMA can detect tiny ripples and gaps in protoplanetary disks. If these distant stars have young analogs to our Jupiter or Saturn, which we have definitely caught, Zhang said. Zhang and Zhu carried out a large set of numerical simulations to study planet-disk interactions. Zhang analyzed 540 images from simulations to find the correlation between the width of the gap and the planet mass, and apply these relationships to observations to constrain the properties of potential planets in these disks. Okay, those articles are both at ScienceDaily.com. Do we have any new check-ins? Okay, we're going to call on Tony in 5 p.m. to talk about space exploration and space history. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you very much, Brenda. It's been an exciting week in space exploration. We've had a great meeting of the American Geophysical Union, and we have now had the announcement that as of November, Voyager 2 entered interstellar space. entry into interstellar space had to be inferred from changes in other related measurements. But Voyager 2 can definitively say that it is no longer measuring hot particles from a solar wind, but is instead measuring a great increase in cold, dense interstellar matter, as well as very high energy cosmic rays. Very exciting to have this great instrument package on a well-functioning spacecraft heading out into interstellar space. And if you are interested in a copy of the Voyager Golden Record after years being in print, we do have a link at w5sc.org. You can get this material once again. There was a crowdfunding campaign to reacquire the rights to the music and images. So not only is Voyager 2 interstellar space, but you can order yourself something neat for this spring. In space exploration news, much closer to home, the spectrophotometric instruments on OSIRIS-REx have been making some very exciting discoveries at the asteroid Bennu. Bennu is a small carbonaceous asteroid that passes near the Earth and was selected because NASA would like to get samples of carbon-based material from a very early solar system. And it turns out that it's already more exciting than expected. The spectral equipment returns strong signatures of hydroxyl groups, OHs. Well, why does that matter? Well, one is H2O, but it's really arranged as HOH. Those OH hydroxyl bonds are the basis of water. Finding hydroxyl signatures all over Bennu is exciting because it means that it's full of hydrated minerals like clays. Hydrated means they formed in the presence of water. Well, Bennu has no water now. It seems clear that it was formed from a larger body that was wet. And that's pretty exciting. Water is the basis of not only life, but all sorts of awesome chemistry. A couple of interesting space-related birthdays this week. On the 11th of December, 1911, how do we say this here? Xian Huisen was born. He was a prominent Chinese scientist and engineer. Now, why is it? Well, he was almost a prominent American scientist and engineer. He was trained at MIT and Caltech, but was unfortunately, after being kept under house arrest for 5 years, sent back to China as part of a Red Scare in 1955. In China, he contributed not only to the development of Chinese atomic bomb, but to the development of the Dongfeng and Long March rockets. You know, the Long March rocket that they use every day now. On a different note, we also celebrate the birthday of James Doolittle, Jimmy Doolittle, on December 14th, 1896. Well, Jimmy Doolittle was mainly known for his bravery in war. He was actually an influential engineer. He was a friend of rocket pioneer Robert Goddard and helped develop rocket fuels used in his rockets. He believed that aircraft needed better instruments to prevent pilots flying in all weather. And was very influential in the development of the artificial horizon. He was also the last chairman of NACA, N-A-C-A, the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, you know, the predecessor of NASA. He was picked for that job because he was sympathetic to the role of rockets not only as weapons, but for carrying scientific instruments to high altitudes. We have some milestones, both good and bad, that we can commemorate. In 1998, on December 11th, the Mars Climate Orbiter was launched. This infamous rocket commemorated something commonly taught to students in high school. Always keep track of your units when making mathematical computations. The Mars Climate Orbiter might have been a very exciting mission to Mars, but it burned up in the Martian atmosphere because one team used software that produced units in foot-pound seconds, and the other expected units in the metric measurement of newtons. Don't do that. Keep track of your units, and remember, science is metric. In 1962, on December 13th, Rainy 1 was launched. This was an exciting spin-stabilized communications satellite. We take satellite transmissions for granted now. Every news broadcast includes television footage from all over the world. But that used to not be true. News footage was filmed, and the film had to be developed and then carried from place to place on boats or airplanes. Well, Relay 1 and Syncom 1 were an important part of changing that and letting people see the faces of folks around the world. The first live television transmission from Relay 1 was to have been a speech by President John Kennedy to the world, but unfortunately, due to his assassination, the first television transmission carried on Relay 1 was footage of his life and of his funeral. When was later used on a cheerful to carry footage of the European 1964 Summer Olympics, 1964 Tokyo Summer Olympics to the United States and Europe. All of us ham operators who daily check the solar weather forecast at websites like QRZ.com should appreciate that on December 13th, 1967, Pioneer 8 was launched. Pioneer 8 did not return beautiful pictures of far-off worlds or travel into interstellar space. Instead, it was part of a long-lived set. These satellites were still operating well after 2000, with Pioneer 6, 7, 8, and 9. Two of them operated closer to the sun than Earth, and two operated further away. They kept watch on the solar wind, the solar magnetic field, and the arrival of high-energy cosmic rays. They provided the data for the first ever space weather forecast and provided the first ever space-based solar weather observing network. On 1962, December 14th, Mariner 2 made its closest pass by Venus. Once again, this was not a probe equipped with cameras. They knew that Venus was a sort of a yellow blur. But it did contain a number of instruments, most excitingly, radiometers. These radiometers measure the temperature of different layers of the Venusian atmosphere and surface, and put to rest once and for all any thought that Venus was a hot planet covered in jungles. Instead, it was shown to be a planet hot enough to melt lead covered in sulfuric acid. Not so the wizards and dragons in science fiction movies, but a fascinating place for scientists. On December 15th, 1965, Gemini 6A was launched. Well, why do they call it 6A? Well, it was originally meant to do something else. It wasn't originally scheduled. Gemini 7 was already launched, and its target for rendezvous practice was meant to be an Agena target docking vehicle. Unfortunately, the Agena exploded. So they quickly replanned the mission and got Gemini 6A launched while Gemini 7 was still in space. It was amazing. Thanks to very expert piloting and very careful mission planning, the two spacecraft were able to approach each other within a few feet and come to a relative complete stop. They orbited in perfect synchronicity. Having read the memoirs of rocket scientist Boris Chertok, this was one of those moments when the Russians knew the Soviets knew they were losing the race to the moon. Instead of getting a big space spectacular, the Americans were developing practical skills like rendezvous in space. The Gemini program is, in fact, one of my favorites because it was full of practical discoveries. How to conduct one outside the spacecraft. How to get a launch pad ready quickly to launch another space stand. Well, how two astronauts can manage the rendezvous of their vehicle with another using only the instruments on board without the input of automated systems. Well, with the input of automated systems, but without the sole control of automated systems. And that's this week in space history and space exploration. Thank you very much for listening. This is NT5TM.
Thank you very much, Tony. Do we have any more check-ins? This is KV5OZL. Next, we're going to cover visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. KV5ICX. Tom, would you like to cover this?
I'll be happy to do so. This is KV5ICX. Looks like the International Space Station is coming back into favorable positions for visible passes. We have one for December 17th and December 21st. The December 17th pass, by the way, this comes from heavensabove.com, heavens-above.com. There's a hyphen between those two words to fill out the URL. So the first one is December 17th, as I mentioned before, minus 3.4 magnitude at 1834 local time. That's in the evening out of the northwest. Reaches highest point at 1837 at 67 degrees in the southwest, and then falls south-southeast at 1840. The second pass I want to mention is December 21st, minus 3.9 magnitude at 5:07 a.m. out of the southwest, reaches its highest point at 5:11 at 79 degrees, so it's a very favorable pass, and then falls at 5:14. So you got about to the north-northeast, so you've got a 7-minute pass on that one. TN-12, that is Chinese space station, is currently unmanned. It does have one good pass on December 16th. That's tomorrow evening. Actually, tomorrow morning. This coming up this morning, before sunrise at 4:58. So 1.1 magnitude out of the west and northwest. It reaches highest point in the southwest at 65 degrees, right at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it will fall at 5:03, 10 degrees to the southeast. Hubble Space Telescope is also seeing some more favorable passes. December 19th is its best, 0.8 magnitude at 4:13 a.m. This one's coming out of shadow at 77 degrees, so it's going to be high, but you're not going to see it coming up over the horizon. It's going to just pop out of nowhere. Reaches its highest point is at 4:13. It will fall to east-southeast at 4:17. So 4 minutes of the pass, about half what you would normally see. And the SAT is always good. It's got a south polar orbit, so it's easy to spot and is more consistent of any of the objects that we see in the sky. There are three passes that look pretty good. One on December 16th. That one is 3.3 magnitude at 1928 out of the south. Reaches its highest point at 1933, 66 degrees. It falls to the 1938 to the north-northwest. December 19th has another favorable pass, 2.9 magnitude at 1917. Out of the south-southeast, surprise, reaches its highest point at 1922 at 89 degrees, or almost directly overhead, falls to the west-southwest at 1927. And then finally, December 22nd, we have a pass at 2.9, a brightness of 2.9 magnitude at 1906 in the evening, or 7:06 in the evening, out of the south-southeast. Reaches its highest point at 1911 at 67 degrees out of the east-northeast, and then falls at 1916 due north, giving us about a 10-minute pass, pretty good pass. That's all I got for this evening, Ms. Brenda. I'll send it back to you. This is KV5ICX.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much. Do we have any more seconds? Okay, I think we've got some time to wrap it up. Take a little break for the afterglow net. Okay, tonight participating on the air. Thank you to everybody who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for new net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this contact Internet Controls by sending an email to nets@w5st.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video stream. Video archives and other resources by going to w5st.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is WV5OZL, Linda. I'll be closing the net at 22:22. Local time. Returning the port here to normal amateur use. So to everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. WV5OZL.
And the Echo Movie Net will start at exactly 10:30. That's 7.5 minutes from now. So come on by then. KE5ICX. update. Completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly. Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, let's get the turkey on the table. This is WV50ZL, and this is the Afterglow Net. Every Saturday night at 10:30, immediately after Skynet, we discuss some fine movies from the past. And tonight's movie is Missile to the Moon. One I guess most of us have never heard of. However, it is a remake of one of the movies we saw a year or two ago called Cat Women on the Moon. And it's just as good as that movie. So, let's take a moment to review the plot of the movie. I'm going to ask Tom, KE5ICX, to let us know what this fine film is about. Go ahead, Tom.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Brenda. This is KE5ICX. I exhaustively researched this movie. In other words, I put in wikipedia.org and got this information. So it is Missile to the Moon. It was an independently made 1958 American black and white science fiction film drama. That's a lie. This must be corrected. It was also in color. Actually, it was originally produced in color. Produced by Mark Frederick, directed by Richard E. Puna, and stars Richard Travis, Kathy Downs, and K.T. Stevens. Film was adapted by Astor Pictures, and it is a remake of an earlier Astor Pictures distributed film. You're right. Cat Women of the Moon from 1953. Missile to the Moon was released in late 1958 as a double feature with Cunner's Frankenstein's Daughter. A spacecraft blasts off from Earth with 5 aboard. One of them is secretly a moon man returning home. He dies by accident during the trip to Luna. What the remaining four find waiting for them when they arrive on the moon is well beyond their expectations. Huge rock creatures, giant lunar spiders, and cave-dwelling civilization made up of beautiful women. Here's the short plot explanation or description. To escape comet, convicts Gary, played by Tommy Cook, and Lon, played by Clark. Why did they just call Lon Gary and Gary... never mind. Are discovered hiding aboard a rocket by scientist Dirk Green, played by Michael Whalen, who then forces them to pilot the spaceship to the moon. Dirk, who is secretly a moon man, wants to return home. Dirk's partner, Steve Dayton, played by Richard Travis, and Steve's fiancée, June, played by Kathy Downs, are accidentally trapped aboard just before the rocket ship blasts off from Earth. Moon man Dirk is later accidentally killed in a meteor storm during the lunar trip. Once they land on the moon, the spaceship's reluctant crew encounter deception and intrigue when they discover an underground kingdom made up of beautiful women and their sinister female ruler played by Lido, L-I-D-O. While on the moon, they encounter surface-dwelling, really slow-moving, bipedal rock creatures that try and kill them. They must also contend with a cave-dwelling giant rubber spider. Believe it or not, that's the entire storyline. There's a whole bunch on the production notes, but you can look this stuff up. One of the things is it's produced at Vasquez Rocks, iconic and used for many, many television series and movies, not the least of which is Star Trek. You may remember the Gorn there during that, whatever the name of that episode was. Okay, that's it for me. This is KE5ICX, back to net control.
Yeah, I went to Vasquez Rocks, specifically for Gorn. Didn't find any, and I didn't find any W Rockmen either. Okay, let's take check-ins and give us your call sign, your name, and whether or not you saw this movie. We will start with short time and low power. Please go now.
Yes. It's Bravo, Bill Derby. Yes, I did see the movie.
Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas, low power and short time. I did not see the movie. I'll just be listening only for fun. NT5TM.
Golf 5, Papa. Mike Richardson. I did see the movie and I loved every minute of it.
Echo 5, India Charlie X-ray, Tom, Louisville. Yep.
Charlie 5, Oscar Zulu Tango, Carolyn and Louisville, and I saw the movie.
We have N5DVO, who has seen the movie, NT5TM telling you what happened, KD5T Mike, yes, KE5ICX Tom, yes, and KC5OZT Carolyn, yes. Any more check-ins?
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo, David in Dallas. Yes, I saw the movie.
This is
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November, James, Fort Worth. Yes, I saw the movie.
I'm sorry, I missed part of your call. Come back with it.
This Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November.
I got KG5 TMN for James. Did you see the movie?
Yes, I saw the movie, KG5PMN.
Alrighty, well, let's get started. We'll get more check-ins later, hopefully. Okay, Inside BB, Bill, tell us what you thought about the plot.
Inside BB. Silly. Did I say it was silly? It was your late 50s science fiction, meaningless plot. So many things were bad. Number one, science. They forgot it. The spacecraft had gravity on it. They had apparently regular guns. They could shoot on the moon even though there was no oxygen. They go into a cave and suddenly there is oxygen. And it doesn't go out into the vacuum. Did I say there's sound in space, the meteorites? Why were there meteorites in space? They should be meteors. Why did they make sound? Why did they move the spacecraft? Why did the battery fall? I mean, there's no gravity. They weren't accelerating. None of it made any sense. Much more didn't make sense. Where do all these people on the moon come from? How do they speak English? How in the world do they build a rocket to go to the Earth? None of it's explained. Inside BB.
I have been reminded that I forgot Echoic check-ins. My apologies. He said that Jay is there, KG5BCW. Have you seen the movie, Jay?
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jay near Weatherford. And I saw 2/3 of the film, enough to get the gist of it, I think.
All right, anyone? Next up, KG5P, Mike. What did you think of the plot?
Okay, good evening, Brenda and everybody. Well, here's what I do. I put myself back in the mindset of maybe a 13-year-old, which I have no problem doing. And the plot was just silly, but, I'm I try to put myself in the mindset that I'm watching it for the first time when I'm 13. This movie, somebody mentioned that it was kind of a remake, or it came out about the same time as Catwoman from the Moon, and which we saw, I believe, and talked about. You got a bunch of doofus Earth type people that go to the moon, and then you come across this matriarchal society, and there's sometimes some kind of love interest or something between one of the Earthlings and one of the Moon women. And then you always have the head Moon queen or something, and she's either trying to hold power or assert power. And that's a common theme. There are a number of other movies besides Catwoman of the Moon. Another movie in 1953 was Abbott and Costello Go to Mars, which is pretty much the same thing, the same theme. And then this movie was in 1958, and there was another movie that I think we did here with Jaja called The Queen of Outer Space, which was the same thing, part 4. So it was a pretty standard plot, and there may be other movies like that. I don't know. Those are the only ones that I could recall ever seeing, but there's probably others. It wasn't just the science that was abysmal, the acting, and I mentioned this a couple of times. Like here's this guy wants to go back to the moon, and he shanghais a couple of escaped convicts. They're third-grade dropouts, and so that was his highly trained astronaut crew. And then when they came back, or when they landed on the moon, he was running his controls like he'd had all this training and everything. He was, which is far more training than he ever received when they took off. The whole part about the meteorites, that's another common theme to these movies, is they always seem to encounter meteorites. These big hunks of rock that come, like they're in the asteroid belt or something like that. Even if they were in the asteroid belt, they wouldn't see that kind of stuff. And then somehow this battery breaks loose that's sitting up on a shelf and bonks the guy over the head. When they land on the moon, they're able to hear the sounds, and well, just because your microphone is sensitive, but these sounds are actually going through the moon atmosphere, which there is none. So that's science number 1. Now Bill had mentioned about the gun, being able to shoot the gun in a vacuum in outer space on the moon. I googled that up just to see if that was possible, and one article claimed that it was because bullets contain their own oxidizer. So if that's true, then maybe I'll buy that. Okay. Then they encountered the giant spider, and I'd read that that spider was actually produced or made for the movie Tarantula. And I always did wonder, all of a sudden they got inside the cave and there was no airlock or anything like that. That kind of bothered me. I'll probably think of a few more things. I've probably forgotten a couple of things, but that's the gist of it. I mean, you have to be a 10-year-old, or you'd never be able to stomach this. But it got kind of boring in certain parts towards the end, when they were having all this interaction with the moon women, and that whole thing they could have left out, I suppose. They did have a token female that came along with them, and when the rocket took off, everybody was experiencing acceleration or G-forces, except for the woman that got in there with her, and they're perfectly fine sitting on the floor in the downstairs of the rocket ship with World War II gas masks. And the spacesuits look like just regular Korean War vintage jet pilot helmets or something. So seen it all before, but what the heck, it didn't cost anything. Back to that KG5P.
All right, this is KE5ICX. Brenda's having some radio problems there. She just texted me. So I'll go ahead and take it from here right now, and we'll be back in a second. It was my turn anyway coming up. Let's see here. About the plot, yeah, I agree with what's already been stated. This plot is a well-worn plot. It's been done in all the movies that were just mentioned. It seems to be a common theme, and of course it is a remake itself. Only 5 years earlier it is done as a story. I think there are a couple of things that, to its credit, actually do work a little bit. The rock creatures, while not particularly menacing, they didn't look all that bad. They appeared to be something that might camouflage. Okay. The thing is, and I have this problem even with, I think, The Empire Strikes Back as well. Even that film had its problems. When you have something that's alive, you assume it's got some sort of oxygen or some sort of atmosphere. Well, we all know the moon, even in 1958, didn't have an atmosphere. So it seemed kind of strange that they would not make some sort of reference or understand that. But then again, we've got the everybody battery conking people out in weightlessness. So it's all kind of crazy when you think about it. So that part, but I do remember very vaguely, I had seen this movie as a kid. No, I wasn't 11. I think I was 9 when I saw this film originally on TV. It was in black and white for me. That's what we had. I didn't even know this film was done in color until I found a pay $3, you can watch this film in color. I'm not sure. I think they need to pay me $3 to watch the film in color. To be honest with you, I think it looks better in black and white. It seems more legit. Certainly the color gives it that, rich tones that you wouldn't have in the purple skin or blue skin or whatever the heck it is. But it cheapens it quite a bit, too. So it seems and looks very much like a black and white film and everything that it does. The depth of field and all that works, I think. But now I'm getting into the technical aspects. Why am I doing that? Because we already know the script. We've seen it over and 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 over again. So I can't complain. The meteor shower, the meteors attacking the spacecraft, right on schedule. The first time I saw it, I said, we're going to get meteors here. They came. Good chance of meteors this afternoon. The convicts, your typical convicts, of course. Why is there no security anywhere? I don't understand that. Why aren't they out there, keeping people from going in the spacecraft? Everybody's in the darn thing. The ladder is there. The ladder's still there while they're powering up and ready to go. I'm surprised the ladder wasn't still there and the door banging in the breeze when they finally got into orbit. Bang, bang. Do you hear that? Yeah, it's the screen door where the ladder is. So I don't know. Just seems kind of odd that way. In any case, there you have it. Those are my comments on this round because there isn't a lot of story on this one. Although it was still entertaining, although I did fall asleep for about 15 minutes. Don't tell anybody. Let's see. I'll go and see if our net control is back. Brenda, WB5OZL, are you still there? Can you pick up Earth? Please come now. Okay, well, she's still out. I don't know what she said there. Radio fouled up, and that was it. So I'll just go ahead and take over the net responsibilities for now, and maybe she'll signal me later on. Next on the list, KC5OZT, Miss Carolyn. You saw the movie. What did you think of the plot?
Well, I think pretty much what everybody else has, and there was one thing I noticed, diamonds in the cave. Well, diamonds are formed deep down, with heat and pressure. That was something seemed odd, if you wanted to get into details, and you have to admit, the one convict that was, stealing and not being really a good guy, he was one that got killed. And that was sort of spectacular, but the whole story, though, was just almost predictable, and like I said, I think I've seen other movies like it, KC5OZT.
All right, very good. I'm sensing a pattern here. Next up, W5EBB, David in Dallas. Your thoughts on the plot?
First, I'll start off with the title, Missile to the Moon. Well, people don't fly in missiles. People fly in rockets. That's the main difference between a missile and a rocket. But M&M has an alliterative quality to the title, so it's a little catchier, I guess. Now, generally, from a computer science programming terminology, this is more of an object-oriented movie, and that's what the movie was based on. It wasn't procedural or data-driven. There wasn't a plot necessarily. It was more about the stuff that they wanted in the movie, and then they sort of created the plot around it. So you've got crime, romance, hypnosis, aliens, buttons, levers, lights, caves, rock monsters, spiders, Miss Universes, diamonds, and other sparkly things like 7-Up and spontaneous combustion. The only object missing that kept this from being a great movie was an oscillation overthruster. Then it would have been a much better movie. Let me reset. Now, Tom, I have to take exception with your saying that The Empire Strikes Back had any kind of flaws. It was basically a perfect movie. You can't get any better than that. The only flaw in that movie was as the stormtroopers were leading the rebels and Han Solo down into the carbon freezing chamber. If you watch this again, you'll find that one of the stormtroopers' armor is basically falling off. Otherwise, it's a perfect movie, and do not disparage my favorite movie of all time. Thank you. W5EBB.
Oh my, touch the third rail. Okay, I remember that, David. Okay, next up, KG5, Papa Mike November, James in Fort Worth. Your comments on the fine plot to this fine movie about missiles to the moon.
This is Fuel, the 5 Papa Mike November, James. Yeah, I managed to sit through the black and white version. I watched the black and white version, actually. And, it's just, I guess it's kind of predictable of the producers, directors' imagination about the time we were getting into actual exploring outer space and what they perceived that we could get into. I don't know if how far that actually goes, but anyway, the one thing that kind of bothered me about it is their air packs that they had on their suits. It looks like E-series or one of the oxygen bottles you see in the hospital ambulance cars. And it looked like their spacesuits or coveralls with motorcycle helmets. And couldn't imagine that the oxygen being in the cave and not on the surface. KG5PMN, back to the net.
All right, very good, James. Thanks for your comments. And yeah, I forgot about those air tanks. Not much to talk about. Okay, next station, KG5BZW, Jay near Weatherford. You saw the movie. What are your comments on the plot?
This is Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu. Sorry, Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Yeah, there was a there. I think I agree with David. It's more about what they wanted to put in the film than a film that actually makes any sense. As Mike said, that this science is just all over the place. Or I guess Bill and Mike said. Although Bill, the reason guns work is that the reaction happens entirely within a chamber. There's no external chamber. You can fire a gun off in water because it happens inside the gunpowder. It's potassium nitrate, I believe, is the oxidizer. So that's fine. But there's just so much about this. It's like the plot. I keep on going back to the technicalities because it's just so distracting from the plot. I mean, how do they just automatically go from an airless moon or whatever to fully pressurized air? And then it's like the assumptions made for so many things. You won't statements that you won't feel deceleration. Has anybody in this movie even ridden in a car? It doesn't make sense. It's just so distracted. Every single thing they try to do something size is just not right. Let me reset. And then, of course, I can't say about the end because I just kind of got bored with it and I actually started watching it too late. But, yeah, I wish I was listening earlier about what Mike had said about like similar plots and all, because this movie just seemed so much like something I'd already seen for this net, and I can't even remember if we actually did see one that was mentioned. It might have. I guess I'm not paying that much attention. But, oh gosh. I don't know what else to say. When you get just so distracted by just things that it's not just science, it's kind of basic facts that don't make sense. It's hard to take the plot for what it is. I did kind of like the Gumby monster stuff. KG5BZW.
Okay, very good, Jay. Yeah, I hear you. It definitely has the Gumby rock monsters in it. Let's see here. We are at the bottom of the list. Let me go ahead and see. Miss Brenda, you want to try again? I hear you had a cat episode there that messed up your radio. Go ahead and see if you can get in.
This is November 5 Hotel Yankee Papa, checking in lane.
Alright, I got N5HYP, Tom, over in Irving. Did you get a chance to see Missile to the Moon?
Forgot to tell you, yes, we did. Oh, boy.
Alright, good deal. I got you next on the list. Any additional check-ins, please, now? Alright, we've had a few comments here about the plot, so before we move on to the next topic, Tom, what did you think about the plot? Don't worry about repetition. We've had a lot of it this evening because we found out this movie is about 4 other movies we've seen is the same exact plot. But what did you think of this one? And Family, N5HYP from KE5ICX.
K5ICX in the group, this is N5H5P. Yep, that's exactly what we thought, too. Anna goes, didn't I see this set on Catwoman on the moon? Oh yeah, the whole formula, the whole plot has been done before. We have seen it before. It's pretty amazing how similar it actually was to other things that we've seen. Sci-fi movies in the 50s many times because of what the marketing was, really weren't very creative in how they did it. That's all I got. We'll talk about characters shortly. This is N5HYP.
All right, very good, Tom. Yep, I agree, and we all agree on that one. Okay, this is KE5ICX. I am now alternate net control, now net control. Brenda had a catasode, which means the cat did something to her radio accidentally, and now she is off the air. She's able to listen but cannot transmit. Probably a PA amongst Brenda needs to be set, and as I'm not familiar with radio, I can't tell you what that is, but I'll help you later on. Okay, we are now going to talk about characterizations, and we will go to the top of the list. I'll reserve my comments towards the end, so be ready. I'm going to go from Mike to Carolyn and skip over me on that one. But let's start with Bill, N5BB. What did you think? I know you kind of covered most of the movie, but what do you have for us in regards to characterization? N5BB from KE5ICX.
This is N5BB. I guess the cat's got her tongue. A bad joke, Brenda. Sorry. Well, first, I'll just say, yes, maybe there's an oxidizer in there in the bullet, but you wouldn't hear it. I mean, the sounds, the whole situation was not realistic. You wouldn't hear the gun firing. And then when the bullet bounces off the Gumby rock monsters, you see dust flying up just like on the Earth. I mean, it's in the air. Not realistic. And then when the guy steps out in the sunlight, it bursts into flame and is a carcass within a few seconds. Come on. Anyway, so much for the science. Characterization. Well, it was the same old plot. They throw a woman in for love interest, and the bad guy, the criminal tries to cut in on the love situation. And then you got a bunch of gratuitous girls on there just running around in heels. gosh. What can I say? I don't know. There wasn't much characterization because it was all just a very simple plot. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's Habibi.
Bill, don't feel bad. It's hard to really discuss this movie. It was somewhat Spartan when it came to a lot of it. It is entertaining, and I got some comments on the special effects coming up, but I'm watching again. Of course, I've seen it 5 times and never seen the film because this plot's been asked a zillion times. All right, Mike has things to say. KT5P, I know you love this movie. What did you think of the characterizations?
Well, I can sum it all up in one word, which is flat. The characterization, there's really nothing to it. But one thing I like to do is I like to look at the actors and see what else they were in. And the only actor that I recognize was the Gary Clark, who played the Lon character, one of the convicts. And he's about the only one who's still alive. But he's been in a ton of different TV series. Mainly, he's usually only about one episode, such as The A-Team, such as, let's see, I'm looking down the list here, Dynasty. He was in The Streets of San Francisco, one episode, Lassie, one episode. Then Kim Johnson, if you remember that one, about the guy that drove around on the motorcycle. One episode, My Three Sons. One episode, Police.
KE5IC. There we go. I think we got the audio back. Not quite sure what happened, but the echo link lost. That's never happened quite like that before. All right. Oh, he's gone. Okay, well, it's going to be one of those evenings where we're going to have audio. N5HYP, Tom, we're Irving. Go ahead, your comments on characterization.
E5ICX and the net. This is N5HYP. I had hoped for a couple of seconds at the beginning of the movie that maybe this one would go, get a little better, but, well, my hopes were dashed pretty quick. I've got to admit that I think the strongest characters in this movie were the Moon Gumby monsters. I think they were exemplary in the way they were portrayed. It was funny because I saw earlier in the week KG5D posting the pictures that related to Gumby monsters on the moon. And I wasn't sure what he was really referring to until I saw them. Those monsters, were moving so slow. How could you be afraid of them? They were the only things that acted as if they had gravitational issues. Nothing else. Nothing else really cared that the gravity of the moon was not 1/6 that of Earth because of size. Oh well. Anyway, it was really, it just got bizarrely funny as time went along, especially how stereotypical. It's amazing, I guess, how formulaic cinema, or low-budget cinema could be back then. I guess seen by the fact that so much of this movie was recycled from multiple movies that we've seen already from the era. It's quite amazing how formulaic the genre could be. That's why when there really was good stuff out there, good writing for science fiction, like Twilight Zone and such like that, it really stood out because there was so much of the bad stuff, so much bad characterization, so much bad special effects, so much bad script writing. Well, there we go. This is N5HYP, back to net.
We hear you, Miss Brenda. Go ahead.
I think I'm back. How is my signal?
Well, it's not perfect by any stretch, but we definitely hear you. It's about what it was when you went away. Well, just before you went away. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm back, and I guess I can take over if you want me to.
I'll tell you what, let me finish off this round. There was a little disconnect. There are gremlins everywhere. We had a little problem. I was about to get Jay back. He disappeared because we lost audio over on Echolink for some reason. I've never seen that problem quite like that before. It was very weird. But hey, he's back, so I'm going to go to KG5BZW, and then I have some comments, and I'll send the net back to you. So KG5BZW, Jay, what did you think of the characterization?
This is KG5BZW. Okay, and I do have audio back. Characters, they were stock characters, and in fact, there was a character that I almost hated so much because it's kind of it's not even a human character. I mean, the lady they added for the romance, what? Oh gosh, I mean, how can someone just come back? I don't know how to characterize. I don't know how to characterize it because, and keep it like PG here. Almost attempted. I don't know. The sexual harassment. Let's put it like that. And then, okay, so she gets sexually harassed by this one guy, and then all of a sudden, she stops the fight between the two men that one was actually protecting her. Not really sure what was going on there. That's more of a comment on how bad the writing was for movies and maybe the objectification of women in that era. But what else? Let me reset. Yeah, as I mentioned, I didn't quite hear, I didn't quite see the entire movie. The alpha character that someone mentioned is, that was part of, I think a little bit later, and I'm kind of curious about it now, because that character sounds kind of interesting, but there's just nothing to these characters. I mean, the super Von Braun Dark, who somehow had accumulated 1 million man hours and put it into 1,000 hours of work, and I don't know, maybe he's got a clone machine and stuff, and I don't know. Just it's hard to talk about the characters without talking about the plot and how that doesn't make sense. But gosh, I don't have anything else. I kind of agree with N5HYP about the monsters. Like I said, I like the monsters, the gummy monsters. AG5BCW.
All right, Jay, thanks for your comments. I understand. And this is KE5ICX. I'm alternate net control this evening. We are talking about the Missile to the Moon from 1958, the color or black and white movie. You probably saw it as black and white. I have my comments, and then I'm going to send it back to our net control, who has returned. Okay, one of the comments was, and I guess this really goes back to plot and characterization. One of the things that I'm a big fan of old-time radio programs that ran during mostly the 40s for about 10 years. It was a very short period of time. But one of the things that happened in those is particularly with detective stories, there were a lot of them out there at the time. The scripts, all they would do with the scripts is just change names of who the detective was and maybe the characters who the victim and the people who were interviewed and otherwise, and the perpetrator and all that. But the scripts were word for word the same scripts. They just circulated them around to other people playing detectives. Well, science fiction has this paint-by-numbers thing that was going on in the 50s and even into the 60s. So it doesn't surprise me there. Another thing. This also applies today with television, particularly with police procedurals, use some of the same tropes over and over again. As an example, you have to reduce your list of suspects down by a huge factor very quickly. So you have to have a clue that could instantly point to a particular character. One of my favorites is from, I think, an NCIS, where the guy says, we checked with the coroner, and he had eaten spaghetti, and it had chili in it. And they said, well, that's got to be from Columbus, Ohio. And sure enough, they figure out that he was on an airplane from Columbus, Ohio, and had eaten chili, because chili and spaghetti is a big deal in Columbus. How do I know that? I was there. But it also worked for the story to reduce it, and that always happens. It's a paint by numbers. So this became one of the things. You had to have a monster. You had to have, and it's part of that object-oriented thing that was brought up earlier. It's all there, and it happens a lot, not just in science fiction, but in every genre you can imagine. All right, Miss Brenda, I'm going to send the net back to you. WB5OZL from KE5ICX.
Okay, well, I apologize if things went south in a hurry and I did not know what the cat had done, so it took me a while to figure it out. But I did go back in the saddle here, so my comments about characters, a lot of stereotypes here, for sure, and a lot of it doesn't make sense. What, these silly women up there walking around their little skimpy outfits and, breaking into dance for no reason, and just, these people don't seem to have a purpose. Just don't they have jobs or something? And, or weren't they worried that they're dying out? I think I would be maybe trying to invent a spaceship or something. And so the one man of their species goes off, and he's supposed to come back and doesn't. Why is there only one man? They all died. Really? And why did they let him go? I think I would start a breeding program, try to repopulate or try and make some oxygen or something. They were just a couple of silly women that really they're just populated with. I like the Gumbies, but they live off sunlight. How does that work? So wouldn't it be weird if all the rocks on our planet suddenly were animated because they're living off sunlight? It'd be a strange place, would it not? All right, do we have any more check-ins? Okay, I know some people checked in while I was unconscious, so we will pick them up as we go. We will start back at the top and talk about special effects. Inside BD Bill, what do you think?
Well, how about that? Inside BD. They use stock, late 40s to early 50s, probably basically late 40s. Photos of V2 rockets. They set off at White Sea of the Missile Range. I recognize the footage there of White Sea of the Missile Range with right at the start of the sheriff, whoever patrolled it out there. What else? Special effects. Spacecraft was goofy. Why were there 10 levers they had to pull? Why wasn't more things automated? Anyway, those special effects that were reasonable. The meteorites were horrible. The moon landing was a takeoff of a V2 plane backwards. The company rock monsters were horrible. The spider was useless. I mean, I don't know. It was so bad, I don't know what else I can say about it. It's embarrassing. It was embarrassing. It should have been embarrassing to anybody to put that spider there. Special effects. I guess the only special effect that may have worked for some people would be the costumes and all the women. Maybe the spacesuits. They weren't too horrible. Inside BB.
Yeah, it was especially gratuitous. I'm sorry. It's just cheap. Okay, KG5P, Mike, what did you think about the special effects?
Well, the special effects were really non-existent. One thing that kind of bothered me was that they were on the moon and they were saying, well, I hope the sun doesn't go down because, or it doesn't, maybe it doesn't go up, or it doesn't rise or something, because we're all fly. So that sort of implied that they're somewhere on a dark part of the moon, a dark side of the moon, but I'd have to think about this for a while, but you know, the moon rotates in 30 days, basically every time it goes around the Earth. But it doesn't really rotate. The side that we see is always pointed toward the Earth. That's why we never see the backside of the moon. So what happens is you're going to have daylight for approximately half of that amount of time, somewhere on the moon, and then it's going to, every day, that terminator is going to go one way or the other, one day at a time. You're not going to have a sunset every 24 hours. But even then, it would seem that this well-planned moon mission, they wouldn't leave that to just chance. You know, if the sun were to come up, then they'd all roast. Is what they said. Of course, that's not what happens, of course, because you're still going to be freezing on one side in the shadow, and you know, going to be roasting on the other. And we know that because that's what the Apollo astronauts had to have space suits to protect themselves from that. But the special effects were really non-existent. You would see shadows. And this is ostensibly at night because it said the sun hadn't risen, so they really never gave special effects a second thought. The rocket would just stock footage of V2 rocket or whatever the American version of the V2 rockets were when they were still experimenting with those at the time, because those are basically the recycled German V2 rockets, the early ones. So I really can't say anything about special effects because they just weren't none at all. Back to that KG5P.
Yeah, I wonder if the moon landing deniers have figured out that Neil Degrasse should have incinerated more proof that it never happened, and because it burned up in the sunlight, and they didn't. So proof they were on a soundstage instead. Okay, sorry. Tom, K-Fed-ICX, you're up.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brenda. Mike brought up probably the points that I was. The obvious stuff is that you've got a V1 rocket in it that they used in reversed footage as well. One thing I did notice, and I caught, it was about maybe a half second long. There's a shot as the rocket ship takes off, and then there's a kind of a sky shot looking down at the Earth as the thing leaves the launch pad. And that, I believe, is a shot from rocket ship XM. which was a movie. I don't think we've actually watched that film. It's not a bad film at all. I don't know if it's available or not. It was restored, but it's Rocket Ship XM that shows up in that. I liked, Vasquez Rocks is always a cool place for any sort of outer worldly footage, plus it's very close to most studios in LA, which works out really well. I thought the Gumby monsters were pretty good. I liked them. I remember that was the one thing I remember about this film when I was a kid is the Gumby monsters, and it came right back to me when I saw this film for the first time again, just last night. So that was kind of interesting. Obviously, they're not going to have a lot in the way of special effects. They use the standard stuff, coveralls, the pilot helmets, and the masks and everything. They did manage to try and cover the throats and things that sometimes are just left wide open when doing such things, because in the vacuum of space, as we know, if you step outside and into the sun, you'll explode, so you got to be covered up. That's really important. And again, it had all the elements that you needed for the storyline to forward, which means the special effects along with it. I guess that's it. I don't have a lot to say on this one as far as the unspecial effects. It was still interesting, even though I did fall asleep last night. I was tired. It was a long day. That's it for me on this KE5ICX.
Okay, KC5OZT Carolyn, what do you think?
Pretty much the same, but one thing that struck me while I was watching it, they were acting like they were in Earth's gravity, not the moon's gravity when they were walking. Well, I thought that'd be the indoor scenes, that was one thing that just struck me as odd. And also, you didn't see a sign of their rockets or whatever they use to fly. And I thought they might have showed something. After all, that guy did get to Earth. And that was about, I wondered if they had flying saucers, but they didn't show anything. H5OZT.
Okay, David, W5EBB, go ahead.
Well, I earlier said that the Moon Maidens, which were also the cat women of the moon in the 1953 version of this, that I said that they were Miss Universe contestants, but they're credited in this movie as being international beauty contest winners. But in the Catwomen version, they were the Hollywood cover girls. So, okay, they're minor actresses, but of course, they were essential key elements in this movie. But the budget for this movie was $65,000, which tells me they paid too much. But I think 10,000 of that went to the double dragon headdress crown that Leto wore, which was pretty impressive. Low gravity, lack of air, atmosphere is difficult to capture on film. It's just an inconvenient truth, which is typically either ignored or dismissed with some terse, specious explanation, like, hey, we've got a story to tell. Don't bother us with the physics. Let us dazzle you with dancing beautiful girls and flashing lights, unspecial effects. But come on, this was a movie of its era, very, very typical. And actually, it's not a movie or a film, as shown in the credits. It's a photo play. And that's kind of what it looks like. You've got a stage, you can imagine that's just a stage and a play going on, and they take a moving picture of that play. It's a photo play. That, at least according to the disclaimer about any similarity to anyone living or dead being strictly coincidental. W5EBB.
K25TMN, James.
This is KG5PM. Don't, like everybody else, there wasn't much special effects on it. I guess as close as special effects could come would be the Gumby. People trying to walk around being hand drawn into the script. That's why they move clumsily and slow and being hand drawn. And the other thing I thought the only other special effect may have been the building collapse at the very end. KG5TMN, back to the net.
Jay, KG5BDW, Jay.
This is KG5BDW. And, yeah, special effects, besides the monsters, not much. I was trying to look at the set design information to see if there's anything about I seem to recall sometime there's a company that literally built props for films, and you could order them and use them in this film or that film, and I was wondering if there's anything kind of interesting there. I hadn't quite, I don't know if there's anything that really can be gained here. Maybe, I mean, I only did a quick search, so really quick, just using IMDb here. I was kind of curious about the design for the inside of the spaceship, which is, of course, way too big for, well, maybe not way too big, but it's just like so many other rocket movies. It's just nice and luxuriously spacious, but it just seemed to also echo some. I don't know if it's just the spacious rocket ship, if it's just a trope, or if do they all use the same scene or what? Anyway, I just find that kind of interesting to think about. Probably, I'm sure there was at least one rocket set that was used and reused, and they traded out some things, and hey, it's new rocket ship or whatever. But anyway, and then of course, let me reset. This film was apparently black and white, so you could talk about special effects for the color version, but that's just, people colorizing stuff, so I don't know. I didn't see that anyway. Just thought I'd toss that idea out there. And with that, I think I'm done. This is KG5BGW. Back to net.
N5HYP. Tom, go ahead.
Hello, Brenda and Annette. This is N5HYP. Well, I can't say much more than anybody else has said. I will say that they did try to throw a nod to the fact that, everything looked like normal gravity on the moon, where one of the convict characters made a comment about those gravity boots really help. That was kind of the way they threw the concept of the science away. Anyway, no, it was very, very typical.
I will, if the movie was colorized rather than being originally, after being shot in black and white, you know, Tom, I don't know if you want to mention what that was or not. I had a co-worker at one of the TV stations I worked at in the 80s who at one point worked for the company that Ted Turner had used to colorize movies. And even amongst the people who worked for that particular company, I cannot remember their name right now, they used the term art mutilation to describe what they were doing to classic black and white movies. And the technology back then was not very good for doing that. So as a result, you did end up mutilating good black and white movies. That being said, I'm done. Let's see what happens, what we get to watch next week. Please let it be better. This is N5HYP.
Hey, well, I just have a comment. Been looking at or Google at images, and in all of the color pictures, almost all of them, the women have blue skin. But Dirk, the Moon Man, had flesh-colored skin. I don't know how we explain that. However, there is one poster for this movie where Leto is flesh-colored, or, you know, beige, and not blue. And, of course, the highlight of this is lunar she-devils lure Earthmen into their lair of doom. Wow, that makes you want to run out and see it. Okay, I think we're about done. It's almost midnight. Any other check-ins last minute?
G5P, the comment. Comment.
KG5P, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Yeah, a couple of comments here. Tom had mentioned about the recolorized and how they kind of ruined the movies. Back before we had the digital TV, the analog TV, color TVs had a button or a knob you could turn down the saturation. And I don't know, maybe this makes me a purist or something like that, but if a movie came out that was colorized, it was originally black and white, I'd always go down and turn the saturation down on it so I can watch it in black and white. The other thing I wanted to mention is I have a couple of schlocky movies I'd like to throw into the pot for consideration. I don't know if you're familiar with Gordon McClendon. He was kind of a mainstay of Dallas for many years, a lot longer than I've been in Dallas. For instance, he was the one that started KLIF radio, and he owned the Gemini Theater, the drive-in over at Central and LBJ, if you remember where that was. Well, he also made a couple of movies. He was the executive producer, which I guess means he was behind the financing. One was called The Killer Shrews. And these are schlocky movies, no doubt about it. The Killer Shrews, and the other one was The Giant Gila Monster. And I'd suggest maybe you would consider those because we could have some fun with those. Back to that to KG5P.
Okay, noted. Okay, do we have a movie picked out for next week, Tom? KG5I yet?
Yes, we do. There is being shown on one of the free streaming services the 1976 British science fiction film, The Man Who Fell to Earth. That one stars David Bowie. It's got Rip Torn in it, Buck Henry, Candy Clark, Bernie Casey, whoever he is, any rate, that's next week's film. It has commercials in it, so you'll have to put up with that. But it looks kind of interesting. It's been probably 20-plus years since I've seen the film, so I hope it's as good as I remember it. And if you'd like to be included, just to let everybody know, I think everybody here does. We're on Facebook, Afterglow Movie, 2 words, Afterglow Movie. Just go ahead and say you'd like to sign up. If you don't like Facebook or you're not a fan of that, you want to be included in the email, it doesn't matter. Send an email to me, at Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, KE5IZX at yahoo.com, and say you want to be added to the list. And I'll send out the list. I try to do the list updates on Sunday morning, but I sometimes don't. But I do get them in before the deadline, which is Saturday night. Usually get them out by Thursday or Friday at the very latest. But I always try and do it as the earliest I can, which is Sunday. So that's it for me, KE5ICX.
KG5P.
Well, we are going to close this down. We had 10 hands participating tonight. This is W5OZL. Clear.
W5EBB.
Yeah, I heard you out there.
So I just wanted to mention, you know, Gumby definitely is analogous to the rock monsters, very familiar in shape. But who was Gumby's compadre? Mr. Bill. Those of us who remember the Saturday Night Live claymations, you know, Mr. Bill was his counterpart, and I think that was Gary's role right at the end of the movie there. You know, it's a common movie trope in horror movies, Friday the 13th especially, and those sorts. Any character with lasciviously amorous predilections are going to get their comeuppance, and as the incinerating Gary did in his Mr. Bill moment against the Gumby-like rock monsters. Anyway, W5EBB.
Tom, KG5. The Man Who Fell to Earth, the writer was a guy by the name of Walter Tevis, who interestingly also wrote The Hustler, if you remember that, with Paul Newman, and he also wrote The Color of Money with Paul Newman, KG5P.
Yeah, thanks. And David, thanks for your comment too. Cool. I didn't know that, but I did just watch The Hustler. I think it was about 3 weeks ago. It was on regular TV here, terrestrial TV, and it's been a long time since I've seen the film, and I really enjoyed it. So maybe this film's even better than I thought it was. So I am looking forward to it. KE5ICX.
W5EBB. I just wanted to thank y'all for reintroducing me to the Firefly series. I've since, watched all 14 episodes and absolutely loved every one of them. And that was a really great series. I wish, as many do, that they would have had additional seasons after that, because it's a really, really good series. And I got over my shaky cam aversion, and I think that was just unique to the train robbery episode. The other ones, they didn't have that so much, but the stories were great. W5EBB.
Hey David, I agree entirely. My favorite episode out of that bunch is Out of Gas, where the crazy guy boards the spacecraft, and he's definitely crazy. That's a favorite, and I can't remember the other episode, but it's the one that opens up with Mel, and I don't think it ever aired on TV until later on. I think Sci-Fi finally aired it, but Fox did not. And he's sitting on a rock, and all he has is his hat, and he's watching the Serenity warp or go into space. He's naked, and he says, "Well, that went well," and that's how it opens.
last ones. That's sort of putting the cliffhanger right at the beginning, I suppose, so to speak. But they're well done. The characterizations, they were tight and really well developed. And Joss Whedon did a great job with that. And I really enjoyed watching all of those. W5 EPB.
HYP. Yeah, it was interesting. It just, again, when I first saw it, when it originally came on, when Fox was trying to promote it, this concept of a space western, or a western space adventure thing, I just couldn't figure it out. It wasn't until later on, watching it, on DVD compilation some years ago, that I really got to appreciate the fact that it really was pretty darn good, that there really was an interesting collection of characters that were developed and could have been developed a heck of a lot more than what they were allowed to. And just the way the story were kind of an intertwining of, Western themes or themes of an underclass trying to survive in a bigger, larger world were quite well done and quite well taken. So yeah, very sad. Firefly has had this really devoted fan base since then. I'm sure it's not as big now as it was maybe about 5-7 years ago, but it was pretty amazing how devoted Firefly fans were, and the fact that the Serenity movie was even made was a testimony to the power of a fan base. The Serenity movie in itself kind of stood on its own, but yes, it was definitely a credit to its fan base. This is N5H5P, back to that. One thing that really stands out, every episode, at the end, during them, or at the end, you get it's kind of corny to say, but you get a warm fuzzy. There's a good feeling. It's like there's a morality about the show and a message in it, and each episode is a little different, but it's fulfilling, and it just makes it's a feel-good kind of a series, and that's lacking these days. Now, I'll mention Joss Whedon is going to have a new sci-fi series coming to HBO called The Nevers, and I think that's going to be in production, or is in production now. But a new series from Joss Whedon, so that's something to look forward to. And we're going to get another call subscription to HBO soon. W5 EBB. What's amazing is the amount of, what did I just read, about a year ago, there were 500 scripted series being done for all the different platforms, whether it be Netflix, Amazon, HBO, or broadcast networks. It's an amazing amount of